Time for the morning rush. Local families desperately asking for the public's help to solve a deadly hit and run. A year ago, Raul Martinez Lopez was hit by a car while crossing the street at Corzine Bridge. The driver didn't stop. Witnesses say the car was a newer model black Kia. Lopez's niece says she's hoping a new tip will reignite this cold case.
One of the most controversial bills in the legislative session this year was approved by the Senate. House Bill 20, also known as the Healthy Workplaces Act, would require private businesses to provide paid sick leave for their employees. Well, the bill says that longer an employee is with the company, they will accrue earned time off. The House now has to agree to the Senate's changes before it can go to the governor.
A 14-year-old charged in the shooting death of his mother's ex-boyfriend is waking up behind bars this morning. Police say that Enrique Duran Garcia ran away from his Las Vegas home and was staying with 32-year-old Kevin Anthony Gutierrez when he took Gutierrez's gun and killed him with it. Police say he then killed Guadalupe Gutierrez. Duran Garcia is charged with 2 counts of murder.
New video this morning shows the moments that Valencia County deputies opened fire during a domestic disturbance call. Well, the woman at the home said that her grandson was inside, threatening to hurt her and others. Deputies went in and tried to talk the man out. Shortly after that, deputies opened fire, wounding the man. Now he's expected to recover and then will face charges. Meanwhile, state police are not releasing the names of the man or the deputies involved.
And our first day of spring is tomorrow. It's the vernal equinox. We'll be seeing that starting very early on our Saturday morning, officially beginning at 3:37 a.m. So kind of tonight to tomorrow morning. What happens at that time is the sun is shining directly on the equator. And as we go through spring, we see the southern hemisphere tilting further away from the sun, and that helps the sun shine even higher on the northern hemisphere.
Voters will now decide if more money will go into early education. Last night, the House signed off on the final changes and will send that proposal to voters. The measure would take an additional 1.25% from the Land Grant Permanent Fund. That money would then go toward early childhood and K-12 programs.
The state says that it may adjust the gating criteria for eligible counties to reopen. Right now, 2 criteria determine where a county falls on that red to turquoise scale. Those include the number of new cases and the positivity rate. Well, currently most counties are below the threshold of 5%, but Dr. Davis Gray says that that number could rise again because fewer people would be getting tested. The state is now studying whether or not to adjust that threshold.
All right, heads up, the state tax and rev department is extending the deadlines to file and pay your 2020 personal income tax. This is for state taxes. The new filing date is May 17th to match the federal government. The IRS recently said that they would extend the deadline to that date.
2 immigration bills are on their way to the Senate after the House votes to give millions of illegal immigrants a path to citizenship. One bill allows the undocumented immigrants brought to the country before the age of 18 to be eligible to apply for a period of conditional permanent residence under certain requirements. The other grants legal status to hundreds of thousands of farm workers.
New data shows the most common underlying condition that contribute to COVID-19 deaths in New Mexico is high blood pressure. Diabetes is next on that list, followed by cardiovascular, chronic lung, and kidney diseases. Death counts in the state have gone down since the vaccine entered the picture.
New body cam footage shows the moments leading up to an officer-involved shooting in Las Cruces. Police say that Joel Orozco was behind the wheel with a knife. The officer discovered a warrant for his arrest. Now, when Orozco tried to drive away, that officer was dragged alongside the SUV while another officer opened fire. Orozco was charged with aggravated battery on an officer and fleeing.
And our Metro Threat Index is very low today. It is a cool morning. You'll need a jacket, but this afternoon will be warmer and sunny with dry skies.
Hospitals across the state are now seeing an increase in patients with chronic illnesses like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Local healthcare officials say these patients had been worried about seeking healthcare during the pandemic. Now nurses are working to get them back on track.
Local officials say that mobile vaccine clinics sent to rural communities are a huge success so far. Department of Health teamed up with the National Guard for their second trip to Hatch yesterday. 200 shots were given out. That was on top of 200 distributed last week. The police chief says that mobile clinics are a critical resource, and there were no problems getting people through that line quickly.
The FBI says New Mexicans lost millions of dollars last year due to online crimes. The agency says business email scams caused the biggest combined loss at almost $10 million. Officials say this may be due to more people online dating during the pandemic. The FBI also saw thousands of complaints about fraud related to the pandemic.
Deb Haaland is now stepping into her role as the Secretary of the Interior this morning, this after being sworn in by the Vice President. It was a historic moment marking the first time that a Native American woman will serve in the President's cabinet. She will serve as a key member of the administration, overseeing land and the country's natural resources.
A bill that bans wildlife trapping on public lands is headed to the governor's desk after a very close vote. The bill known as Roxy's Law was met with fierce debate on the House floor last night. It passed in a 35-34 vote. Lawmakers have pushed to ban trapping on public lands for years.
And let's get a look at that morning drive. Here's a look at the maps showing all green, no accidents or slowdowns this morning. And Tracker is currently going east on I-40 at Rio Grande. The road's filling up out there, but at least the weather is clear.
Well, today is the Presbyterian Healthcare Foundation is going to be hosting its 38th annual Daffodil fundraiser. Those funds will support the new Presbyterian Robert Wertheim Hospice House. Daffodils will also be available for purchase at a variety of Presbyterian locations today.
Welcome back. On this date in 1996, a wildfire was contained. It happened after a planned burn in the Cibola National Forest turned into a wildfire thanks to high fire danger across the state. It ended up burning 6,000 acres in the Galinas Mountains.
Time now for the 5 facts. At number 5, the new Netflix movie that's coming out, Deadly Illusions, and it stars 2 kids from right here in Albuquerque. 10-year-old Marie Wagunman and 11-year-old Shiloh Molina worked alongside many Hollywood stars, including Kristen Davis from Sex and the City, Dermot Mulroney from My Best Friend's Wedding, and Greer Grammer, coming out in this psychological thriller. 2 kids had never met before playing twins in that movie.
Number 4, COVID hospitalizations are going down, but hospitals across the state are seeing an increase in a new type of patient, those that are chronic illnesses. Those patients include people who are fighting cancer, heart problems, diabetes, all of which were told by the CDC to stay home to reduce the chances of getting the virus.
And at number 3, it's going to be a beautiful day. Temperature is climbing into the 60s by the afternoon with lots of sunshine.
Number 2, new data shows the most common underlying condition that's contributing to COVID-19 deaths in the state is high blood pressure. Dr. David Gray says it's a vascular condition, and officials know that COVID-19 attacks the blood vessels in the body. After high blood pressure, it's diabetes, then cardiovascular, chronic lung disease, and kidney disease. Death counts in the state peaked in December. They've since gone down since a vaccine entered the picture.
And at number 1 this morning, the state says that it may adjust the gating criteria for eligible counties to reopen. Right now, 2 criteria determine where a county falls on the red to turquoise scale. Those include the number of new cases and the positivity rate. Well, that rate measures what percentage of people who get tested test positive. Currently, most counties are below the threshold of 5%, but Dr. David Gray says that number could rise again, not because there are more cases, but because fewer people are getting tested.